Hello and welcome to NoCB, a grand strategy podcast. I am your host, TJ Hafer, and with me are our good friends Rose.
Hello.
And Lambert.
Hello there.
And Father Loris is missing in action. He might show up later in the show, but yeah, we'll see. I think he probably has other things to tend to.
The wee mustache man came back and tried to get revenge on him for putting the Kaiser back in charge of Germany on Monday.
Oh, yeah, that must be what it was. Yeah, he came back as the, what was that? Let me go to r/Hoi4.
Heifner?
Yeah, so apparently Hitler can now show up after being deposed as a spy for Germany. As either a male or a female. Yeah, so that's the extension of the Senor Hitler meme.
Surely he should show up as a spy for Argentina.
Oh, definitely.
Well, I think he can still become the leader of Argentina if they go fascist after he's been deposed. So this is another another alternate history Hitler event that's been added in. Anyway, before we get into Dev Diaries, let's throw it over to Rose in the democracy corner. How did our poll from last week go?
It surprised me, honestly. Like, I thought intrigue, seduction would win. Sorry, not intrigue, seduction would win. And that's what most people were saying on Twitter. But if you pull up the results, hunting was the clear winner with 55% of the votes, with war as number 2.
Yeah, so apparently you guys like that little health boost, because this was the final result. Hunting and war.
I mean, you do get a puppy dog. You get
hunting
your own
and
glitter
family
paws.
were my picks.
Yeah. I end up using hunting a lot, but I don't feel like it's my favorite, because the events generally aren't that interesting. Like, you'll hunt for the white stag or the white bear or the white wolf or whatever white animal is in your region of the world. And after 3 or 4 generations, you might find it. And then it's like, okay. I mean, you do get a dog, which is cool. But
yes, you do get a puppy dog, which can either be beloved by court and bring you prestige, or it starts maiming people.
Either way is cool. I'm okay with that. Yeah,
I like both of those. So yeah, our first past the post winners, the most first choice votes was a tie between rulership and family. But then as we took ranked preference into account, they got whittled down one by one until hunting finally pulled past the 50% mark. So yeah, very interesting.
I do like rulership. I think it's business is the one that I like more than rulership. That's the one that lets you go to a foreign land and set up trade network. I just think that event chain is really interesting.
I'm
surprised that rulership beat it.
It's definitely a really good one. Some of the events are a lot of fun. It's kind of tailored to play with merchant republics, but I honestly like it with anyone.
I love doing it as a Viking, because that's the big thing that gets missed about the Viking Age is like, there were some guys running around cracking heads, but more than that, it was like establishing trade networks, around the North Sea and the Baltic and the Mediterranean and the Russian river systems. There were way more Norsemen engaged in trade during the Viking Age than there were engaged in, raiding by a pretty significant margin. So,
what is raiding other than trade with aggressive negotiation?
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, you get a little bit.
Very true.
You can get a little bit better return for your investment sometimes with the raid strategy if you have good warriors and you know where to attack, that the king's men aren't going to be able to get there before you
know where to trade aggressively.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not attacking. It's aggressive trade. Yeah.
I mean, really, Danegeld was just a tax, right? I mean, sure, you can call it racketeering if you want to, but all taxes are kind of that way, So what is next week's poll going to be?
Next week's poll, we are looking at what is your favorite lifestyle coming from what we've seen now in CK3. I'll put that poll in chat, and it will also be over on our Twitter.
Yep, and in the description for if you're listening to this on SoundCloud or Spotify or whatever, I'll put it in the show notes as well. So we've seen what your favorite CK2 lifestyle to play as is. So now we want to know what your favorite CK3 one will be, which you can now answer in a somewhat informed way because they have released the Dev Diary for the Martial lifestyle. Appropriately enough, since the two that got the highest number of votes were both Martial lifestyles.
Which again was very surprising to me because I know a lot of people love playing seduction. That's what they talk about a lot is seduction. And it just got thrown by the wayside there in third place.
I mean, it's the most fun to talk about, but I find I very rarely pick it.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not playing the right style of games then.
Look, if you've got your sister, you don't need to fuck around.
But you need even more babies. You can't just seduce your sister. You've got to seduce all the cousins and nieces and aunts too. I mean,
what
there's
if
a
you
whole
have
wealth of family members?
Yeah, what if you have lots of sisters? You've
convinced me.
Okay, there we go.
I mean, I think in the Succession game I'm currently doing where we're Zoroastrian, we can only seduce family members. I had every single female member of the family as a lover, excluding, of course, the one that I was married to, because she didn't have to.
You can't
she was forced to it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's not allowed. The Martial lifestyle. Once again, we have one focus that is just a flat +3 bonus to the stat. We have authority, which gives you one martial and then increases your control growth, which is like your grasp over your domain. From what little we know so far, I think it maybe kind of works similar to autonomy in EU4. And then chivalry, which I think is the really interesting one, gives you prowess, which is personal combat skill, not skill leading an army. Attraction opinion, because, everyone loves a chivalrous warrior. And advantage, I'm not actually sure what that does. Maybe it hasn't been announced.
They haven't really told us that yet.
Was that not in the Warfare Dev Diary?
It might have been. You all
keep
know.
Talking. I'm going to go and quickly look.
Alrighty. We do have Medith in chat.
Like steel traps, so.
Yes, it is.
I can blame my lapses of memory on pregnancy brain right now, so I don't know what y'all's excuses are.
Accident.
I don't know.
Okay, so advantage is the single most important part of a battle is advantage, which is essentially a modifier that increases the damage of all troops on either side. When a battle starts, all sources of advantage is taken into consideration, come from traits, terrain, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, that's right. I remember this.
All these are added together for both sides of the battle. Difference is then added as the advantage bonus for the side with a higher advantage.
Okay, I remember this now. So it's kind of like represents the ebb and flow of battle, kind of.
Yeah.
So, did anything stand out to you guys here? Did you have a favorite perk or a favorite tree?
It's got to be the one where you can, elope with a fancy lady.
Yeah, let's
of course
pull that up. Yeah. I do love that they have made the chivalry tree not just about being a good fighter, but they've also made it about like you're
trying to be Lancelot.
Yeah, courtly love and stuff. You get scheme power for romance, scheme power for elope, increased success chance. I think this is going to be a lot of fun to kind of play this sort of character that it kind of reminds me of the guy in the Jackdaw episode of The Witcher who's like this very like blustery like I will fight for honor and for my king or whatever like
oh yes
and then he dies with his pants down
hooping
in the bushes.
Guess minor spoilers for The Witcher, but that doesn't really have a lot of bearing on the episode.
And came out what, 3 months ago? I'd say we're past spoiler.
Yeah, if you wanted to watch it, you've had ample chance.
Yeah.
Yes. Considering it all came out at once.
Come on. Yeah. Yeah, this is probably the most interesting tree, for sure, because it is a martial tree, but most of the perks in it like aren't really related to combat hardly at all. Or maybe about half of them aren't. So yeah, I think that's going to be a really, really fun one to play with. The Gallant. There was also where was that other really interesting focus? I forgot to write down, but I knew I wanted to talk about it. Oh yeah, this Absolute Control. So it's basically, I think it's like a toggle that gives you more taxes and levies as long as you maintain your iron grip on the populace. So I don't know if it increases your revolt risk or what, but it sounds like kind of an interesting risk-reward mechanism. I'll be interested to see how that works for sure.
And it is interesting having a focus that is set about for military that's not set on expanding. It's set on holding on to what you have.
Yeah, this whole Overseer tree mainly seems focused on stability, not on conquest.
Whereas Strategist is all about conquest, with just boosts upon boosts to all of your troops.
Yes, It does look rather OP, including raid speed, supply capacity.
Yeah.
Naval speed is interesting.
Something I'm definitely going to be using in my first game, which is obviously going to be as a Viking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, hit and run, minus 25% losses and retreat will be really good for winning wars against a numerically superior opponent. Yeah, so I guess the natural lifespan of a warrior, of a commander at CK3, you take the Strategist tree, conquer a bunch of stuff, switch to Overseer, make sure all of your new conquests are secure, and then you switch to Gallant, and then you just, fuck around for the rest of your life.
Surely that would be the seducing tree.
Well, yeah, but this is more like you're not so much trying to be like a master of like the nightlife.
The bedroom.
This is more like you're trying to woo in an upright, chivalrous manner. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I said it was saying Lancelot, but this really reminds me of the Belgariad series by David Eddings.
Yeah.
There's a whole nation there where it's basically it's all sorts of stereotropes. The whole series is full of tropes. It's glorious. But there's a nation where half of the nation lives like Robin Hood, basically, and the other half of the nation lives like knights, like Lancelot. And there's Mando. Why am I saying Mando? I blame pregnancy brain. There's a character who's like 40 years old when he comes into the story. 30, 40. He's considered one of the older characters. Yes, the Membrant and the but he's in love, and it's a very tragic story with a lady who's married to another lord. And they have the most chivalrous, romantic story, but they never act on it. And he was a squire to her husband, who's like 3 times her age. And spoiler for like a 30-year-old book, in the second series, at the very beginning of it, her husband dies. And they're so used to being in this tragic, chivalrous, romantic love affair that they can't stand the idea of actually getting married now that she's free is unbelievable to them.
Oh man.
It's a really good series, but you read it for the characters, not for the plot twists.
I'll have to check that. That sounds pretty interesting, actually.
Before we move on away from this chivalrous thing, Agamede, that is absolute genius. The Knight of the Round Bed. Hat off, mate.
all of my seduction partners are equal. Yeah, I like it.
As long as you name your character Austin Powers.
We gotta lay our swords down on the table.
I mean, that's just polite, that's
naturally.
Yeah. So the thing about this I think is going to be really powerful though, is that you can basically use these courtship schemes to, like, if there's like an emperor with an unmarried daughter, you can go elope, marry her, and then your children will presumably, if she had a strong claim, have a claim on the empire. So this is going to be an interesting way to create some opportunities for claim wars that won't necessarily require the consent of the involved parties' parents, who might be assholes. So
I had not thought of that, but that is what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
You're playing a lowly little count, and your liege has, one daughter and no sons.
Mm-hmm.
You convince her that she's the love of your life.
That's how love works.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So this is already one of my favorite trees, the Gallant tree. Again, it's hard to pick. We keep talking about they all sound so fun, but this might be the one that I will play around with first. We'll have to see. I just love the idea of having this like naive, cheesy, chivalrous, like over the top kind of gallivanting nobleman, lesser nobleman who just wants to be like the Saturday morning cartoon idea of a knight, and all the kinds of shenanigans that can come with that.
Would that not be gallant-vanting then?
Gallant-vanting, there you go. I wonder if those actually share a root word. That's an interesting.
Also,
yeah,
I hate myself now. I don't do puns. I do puns a lot, and I hate myself every time.
Well, we
sounds
love
like
your
a personal
puns,
problem.
So. Yeah.
It is a very personal problem that I've just shared with you. So it's not personal anymore. It's public. It's now a public problem. It's all your problems now. It's not mine.
Another comment about the Gallants, the fact that we get to see the letter, the image of the letter that's being sent. Uh-huh. That's the first time we've seen, as far as I can remember, any pop-up or tooltip or whatever that looks like this.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
Well, she's asking what if King Salman finds out about our plans. I think we should just fillet him. That's the easy answer.
Did you say fillet or flay? Because both of these are possible in CK.
He said fillet.
I was making a joke on the fact that his name sounds like salmon, but yeah, we could flay him too. That's fine.
Both of these things are possible. We can choose.
Yeah.
One thing about this letter, I wonder if you see the wax seal?
Uh-huh.
Do you reckon that might change depending on their house sigil?
Probably. It's probably based on your coat of arms. That would be my guess. Yeah.
Because that's cool.
That would be really cool.
I don't know if they
Somebody go find who King Solomon is in CK2. Find out who Jacinta is, if she's in there, and see if that's her like family crest.
Yeah, for sure. That would be pretty awesome.
A quick Google of Salamans shows that persecution of Zoroastrians.
Okay,
well, that's just rude.
I mean,
no, here we go. Here's a post from 2013. King Salaman I of Hungary.
Okay. Because I was going to say, she's writing a letter to someone named Boleslaw, so that's probably Eastern Europe would be my guess. But, yeah. Speaking of Eastern Europe, by the way, we have an EU4 Dev Diary that concerns Hungary fairly prominently. They're making some major changes in the next patch to how mercenaries work, where mercenaries are going to be a company you can hire that appear and fight as a single indivisible unit.
Like in CK2 or Imperator.
Right. They come with their own pool of manpower, so you can actually run out of mercenaries. They're not going to be able to be split up, and they specifically said that they're not meant to scale all the way to the end game. So mercenaries are going to naturally become less and less viable as time goes on, which is exactly what happened in the EU4 period of history, as it was kind of the turning point from mercenaries to standing national armies. So that's
which they've
appropriate.
also been doing with the Protector of the Faith, Defender of the Faith.
Right.
So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They seem to be trying to encourage people to have a different playstyle if they do play towards the end game.
They say that it's not it doesn't scale as well, but at the same time, the upper cap for regiments in a company is still 60. So that it might not scale well for like multiplayer where you're running around with 500k plus, but it's a significant army.
Yeah, I think it's less that mercenaries are going to become irrelevant and more that their value proposition is going to decrease as time goes on, which seems about right. They're also going to be, like an Imperator, located at specific places on the map, and they will raise in their home area instead of just appearing wherever you want them to, which is going to cause some interesting new tactical considerations for sure.
Yes, and they do talk about that in that they wanted to make sure you weren't hiring, Bengal mercenaries to arrive immediately in Paris to help you fight a war against Austria.
Right, exactly, yeah.
If you want to hire them, you've got to put them on boats and take them there.
Right. Yeah, overall...
It will make me...
I'll go for it.
Sorry, it will make me use them more for foreign conquests, though. Like, one of the examples they had there was the British using Indian mercenaries to fight their wars in India. I'm totally on board with that. That sounds really good.
Yeah, and then...
Because right now, when you're hiring mercenaries, it's like, all right, I've occupied these provinces, let me just hire a bunch of mercenaries here, and they've got no connection to the land, other than the fact that they were hired there. So, yeah, I much, much prefer this system.
Yeah.
A lot more sense realistically, historically.
Yeah. Someone mentioned in the comments the French and Indian War, which is what we call the 7 Years' War over on this side of the Atlantic, where, both sides were hiring different Native American tribes as mercenaries. That's something that'll be really helpful, especially since I'm in the middle of a big colonial game right now in multiplayer as Great Britain, where often my my good armies are not in the places that are convenient to fight wars in the colonies. So I'm usually just setting the colonial nation subject behavior to aggressive and hoping that they'll do it for me. Being able to hire local mercenaries will definitely be great for situations like that. I also love the flavors that we're getting with some of the unique mercenary companies. We talked about very briefly the Dahomey Amazons. Let me see if I can find, which was the all-female warriors that inspired the all-female Kingsguard, basically in Black Panther. They actually were a unit that fought for the King of Dahomey in West Africa, and they're going to be available. You're going to be able to hire Hessian Jaegers that have unique modifiers. The Forlorn Hope, which I think is a sci-fi novel reference, if I'm not entirely mistaken.
It sounds like several.
Yeah, I Googled it, and all I got was... I couldn't find any historical company called Forlorn Hope, but I was able to find a science fiction novel that has a mercenary company by that name. So I think that might be a meme thing.
A journal,
Forlorn Hope is a band of soldiers or other combatants chosen to take the leading part in a military operation. True, as well.
Also something about the English Civil War.
Okay. Maybe
And
I'm
wine.
wrong. Minus 90% reinforced speed is going to be a pain in the ass, though. I'm wondering if those guys are even going to be worth hiring.
They're a one and done.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, anything else about this dev diary that stuck out to you guys?
I like that the mercenaries are not visible on the map.
Yeah.
It's basically, it's very similar to the Imperator system.
Right.
Though they actually have a manpower instead of being infinite.
Mhm.
But the fact that they're not on the map is something I like. I don't particularly like that in Imperator. And just how much more historically authentic it is compared to the previous version of Mercenaries is something I definitely appreciate. I've seen a lot of people that are heavily into multiplayer. I mean, the best term for it is they're whinging. They're crying about it because it breaks the balance of what they're comfortable with. But I'm shedding no tears over.
As someone who went from playing CK2 first and then learned EU4, the whole mercenary concept in EU4 always kind of bugged me.
Yeah.
It didn't feel legitimate, especially as if you know your history from then. There were mercenary bands that people hired. You didn't just go out into your land and go, hey, I've got money for anyone that wants to join me.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. I also love that they're adding like unique stuff for Hungary where they can institutionalize the Black Army. Basically, if you want to commit to having them be your main, early mid-game military force, you have the option to do that. Just things like little things like this that add more flavor to specific countries are some of my favorite changes to EU4 and really to any Paradox game. So yeah, that's going to be interesting that they're going to have kind of a unique way to interact with their flagship mercenary company. Yeah, so that's EU4. That's EU4. We still don't have a release date for this DLC, but I'm hoping we will soon. Which brings us along to Stellaris. I didn't have a good transition in mind for that. Which
Stellaris space.
The mercenaries
Stellaris
are
is
going
the
to
one
very
game
much
with no
streamline.
mercenaries.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you could say EU4 has added mercenaries and changed that. It's going to really streamline the end of the game. And,
there you go.
Talking about streamlining, performance streamlining. Yay!
Yay!
This is probably the dev diary that those of us that are the most nerdy Stellaris players were hoping for, like more than any new features or any like expansion stuff. They're talking about the big performance updates they've made to the late game, which you won't be able to hear this, I don't think. But basically they did kind of a side-by-side comparison of before the patch and after the patch with the same save file. And the upshot of it is it looks like it's running about 5 times faster in the late game.
Watch if there's
which is pretty crazy.
There is the video, which I will share in chat if anyone wants it.
Yes.
If anyone's not seen it.
Yeah, so as you can see, like, this is the same save file. They're in 2580-0206 in the old patch. They're in 2580-0602 in the new patch. So it seems like they have majorly streamlined late game performance. They get into some technical details of how they did this. A lot of it has to do with pops. So yeah, I'll be really interested to dive into this and see, if the impact in my games ends up being as high as the impact in the video they're showing, which I think was kind of an extreme case of like a galaxy with a crap load of pops. Yeah, this is probably my favorite dev diary so far for Federations.
It's the most impactful one.
Yes, it's definitely the most impactful. I can't say it's my favorite, but it's definitely the most impactful.
I mean, late game Stellaris was an absolute slog.
I mean, I haven't...
They fixed it.
I don't think I've actually played through the Endgame Crisis on this most recent patch because it just got so slow toward the end that I think I, gave up on most of my campaigns around the time or during when the Endgame Crisis was happening. So, yeah.
And we've got the guy who wrote the Dev Diary in chat as well, Moa.
Nice.
Yeah, massive congrats and thank you for this.
Yeah.
It was definitely needed.
Right.
Apparently a tweet from about 4 hours ago from Stellaris says, "Hello, Xenos. Tomorrow on the Paradox Interactive channel at 11 a.m. ET, 1600 UTC, be sure not to miss our Federation's feature review stream with Demorgard and community manager AC."
That's DJ Truthsayer.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Yeah, so very excited about this, and I'm looking forward to putting the new code through its paces, which I'm sure I will because I always end up
creating. I have to correct myself. It's not DJ. He's the community ambassador.
Yes.
Oh,
he's
okay.
community ambassador.
Yeah, sorry, I got that wrong.
All right, so you're fired. You're off the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. You only get
What's
one
your
mistake.
excuse?
Yeah.
I'm tired. Always tired.
Now he's
That's no
getting
excuse.
shamed by all the Stellaris devs and other devs in chat.
Oh man.
Good job, Lambert.
Good old
Yay.
dev shaming. Or podcaster shaming. The devs are the ones doing the shaming. You know what would really be a shame though is if you built a nice big temple to one of your patron deities and didn't have any cool shit to put in it.
That segue.
There we go. I'm like 50% on segues today. So we got a new Imperator Dev Diary. Last week we talked about holy sites. Today they have expanded on how those are going to work with relic slots. So you'll basically be able to have cool shit to put in your temples, which is another cool little bit of flavor and customization that continues along the theme of acknowledging the kind of localized center of worship model that most of the major religions in this part of the world in this era followed. Anything in particular that stuck out to you guys about this Dev Diary?
I'm looking forward to... It's the Pokemon thing, isn't it? It's got to catch them all.
Yeah.
I want all of the things. So just give me lots of things to collect. It's a collectible thing. So
Yes, and there's only a certain number. There won't be more like in CK2 where you have the 20 holy pupuses or whatever. What is it called? I forgot. Whatever. You can have like 20. Yes, the foreskins. You can have 20 of them that all apparently belong to Jesus, and it's like,
but that makes sense.
Okay.
That actually makes sense for CK2 though, because you can just get any foreskin and say, oh, by the way, this was Jesus's, and then, people aren't going to bloody DNA test it because they don't know what bloody DNA is.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense for CK2, but this is a little
totally
different.
happened though.
Yeah,
like how many shards of the true cross were there actually? More than a cross worth.
Yeah, if you count up all of the supposed finger bones of Saint Peter apparently had 9 hands or something like that. So yeah. It's
it makes sense in that game.
Yes.
Right.
So what are you hoping to be what kind of icons and stuff are you hoping to see?
I play a lot as tribal nations in Northern and Western Europe, unsurprisingly, and we don't have a lot of information about their religious practices because they didn't write a lot of stuff down. But I don't know, it'd be cool to see some stuff for the Druidic faith could maybe get some of the famous weapons and heroic items from what we know from Gaelic mythology, which would be cool. There's the skull of Kukulon, the Hound would be a cool one. I don't know. Any specific ones you're hoping to see?
So before that, Dogberry.
What happened?
Chat. Oh god, chat.
24
Dogberry.
foreskins of Jesus. He had a huge donger.
No.
Therefore, he was both crucified and hung.
Dogberry just has a talent for this. He's also the person who suggested that we have the Olmiad Caliphate be an achievement in EU4.
The what caliphate?
The Olmiad.
Oh, so if Ulm becomes the caliph?
Yes.
Totally doable.
Yeah, the podcast has now been excommunicated. That was probably only a matter of time.
Yeah,
everybody in chat is going to be visited by the Inquisition. Yeah.
Well, I was never communicated in the first place, so I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Dogberry says, I'm so very sorry. I don't think the Inquisitors are going to listen to that. If anything, you should just deny it. If you say you're sorry, then they're just going to take that as an assumption of guilt, and you're probably going to get the brazen bull or something. So, yeah, I'd be careful on that one.
Speaking of brazen bulls, we've got Father Loris reappearing. Apparently, he got resurrected after his death by Hitler the Spy.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Hello. I'm such like an old man. I went down, sat by the fireplace, and just like fell asleep, like an old man in an armchair. So
definitely Father Loris then.
Yeah.
Well, you're fired. You're off the podcast, so you can go right back to sleep. Do you have a local recording?
It was bound to
going?
happen. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I've clapped it.
Okay,
everything.
Cool. We'll sync up after we're done, and we usually do it at the beginning, but we can do it at the end too. It doesn't really matter.
That is a good idea, actually.
Yeah,
it's the sacred treasures.
So yeah, just when we stop streaming, everybody remember, don't stop your local recordings yet, because we need to sync them up.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're just
back on topic.
We were just talking about the Imperator Dev Diary. Did you have anything in particular that stuck out to you about this?
I thought you were talking about Jesus' foreskin. I hopped into this channel and you were talking about
it's directly
Jesus is
relevant.
1,000 foreskins.
It's directly relevant to this week's Dev Diary, which is about holy relics and holy sites.
Yeah.
So,
which is going to be interesting with since most of these religions are polytheistic, but there are a couple that are monotheistic.
Mm-hmm.
What are they going to have for icons? 'Cause especially, I'm going to mention Judaism, which is very against having idols and everything.
Well, maybe they could have the Ark of the Covenant. I mean, I don't even know if it actually existed, but I guess that's a possibility.
Menorahs and stuff, like there's lots of little icons.
Moses' foreskin.
Moses'
foreskin.
Oh man. Yeah.
I wanted to see Alexander's helmet. Not that kind of helmet. We're talking about the one that goes on his
a piece of Joseph's coat. A piece of Joseph's technicolored coat.
Oh, there you go. Or just the whole coat.
Technicolor.
Well, no, the coat was torn and ripped and covered in sheep blood. So.
Well, you can reunite the Technicolor dream coat. That should be a goal. Like you get
you get one of each color.
Yeah.
Combine it.
One thing Arheo said, though, is that he doesn't want to add in, mythical things. So no Poseidon's trident or whatever, for example. Yeah. So you got to really... Did these things actually exist? And if they didn't technically have to exist. But if people thought they existed and people pretended that, this is totally this thing, then I guess that still sort of works.
Yeah, you could go just bury a trident in the sand and be like, oh, look, I found Poseidon's trident. It's seriously his. I promise.
Yeah, and Alpha Strike brings up a good point as well. Having Alexander's body be a sacred treasure.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in some way, Imperator already has its first one, because that's already got events for when you take Alexandria.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they could always add in Poseidon's Trident if we do get that Atlantis DLC we were talking about.
Oh, yeah, naturally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they assume it's Poseidon's Trident. It could just be a fisherman's tool.
Yeah, exactly. So what I want to see in CK3, if your character has to get castrated to cure them of an illness, and then they become a saint later, you should be able to dynamically generate foreskins as a relic type.
Oh my god!
That's,
yeah.
Or if they were part of a religion that did circumcision.
Right, yeah. You don't need to necessarily, get rid of all of it. That's kind of the point. So, anything.
The foreskin's not all of it.
Yeah. It's like the orange peel, isn't it? It's like of a lemon zest of a saint.
Oh man, yeah.
I'm so glad I'm the opposite gender right now.
Yeah.
I always liked the idea of like Mary's milk being a saint, like a thing.
Oh my god!
Because can you imagine like Mary, while she was like breastfeeding Jesus, she just thought, I'll just put a few drops in a bottle and leave it.
Do you understand that there are Vatican assassins on the way right now to kill all four of us? Like, this is... we're never going to be seen again. We're getting into, like, some real, angels and demons shit right now. Yeah. Let's move on very quickly.
Yeah, yes.
From discussion of Holy Relics to
oh god,
Hearts of Iron 4.
Today's the first day of Lent.
It's Ash Wednesday today, so
perfect.
A perfect day for a bit of blasphemy.
That's right. So that's gonna increase the level of torture we'll be subjected to.
Look, if they even come in the same room as me, I'm gonna burn into flames.
It's fine.
Anyway,
weren't at least two of y'all from the Church of England? If you go to church,
I was never baptized. So
same. Yeah, same.
Okay, well there you go.
I was baptized, but I never went to church.
You're not apostates.
No, exactly. We're always sinners. From the
I was
start.
always apostate. I was never apostate. Yeah, there we go.
Well, I was baptized, but I never went to church, so... And it wasn't Catholic.
Well, that's even worse for you. We never left the faith. You clearly did. The church is coming for you.
Yeah, so this will be our final episode.
But which church?
All of them.
Yeah.
Whichever one you were baptized in.
Well, my
Methodist,
families were like, nonconformist. I think mine were Methodists too, actually. So we're double heretics.
Yeah.
So
I have my baptismal outfit in a box in the attic.
Let's see. So I think if we're talking about like theological alignment of our families, I think my mom's side were at one point part of the Friends Church, which is like the Quakers, basically. And then my dad's side, they were Southern Baptist, and then they became Presbyterian because the Southern Baptists were too racist. And now they're just like non-denominational, I think, most of them. So, yeah.
So story time for me. I went on a pilgrimage because I love seeing churches and stuff, right? So I thought, right, I'll go on a pilgrimage.
One would never have guessed chapel.
Anyway, it was like a Catholic pilgrimage, and there was a guy there, and I was walking along, I was chatting to him, I just wanted to talk about archaeology, but this guy, he was ranting and raving for hours and hours as we were walking along the road about how all the Quakers were like Satanists, and
Yeah. Yeah, there's some weird even in the US there's like weird sectarianism, like
I thought what's anyone got against Quakers? Like Quakers, what do they do? They just make porridge,
the thing.
Don't
They're
they?
like completely completely
Were the Quakers responsible for convincing the British government to outlaw slavery?
Yeah,
that was there, wasn't it?
It's for Society of Friends. Yeah.
Well, clearly that's devil worship. Devil does not like slaves.
Yeah. Yeah, like even in the US there were certain like fundraisers that like certain groups wouldn't show up to if there were going to be any Catholics there. So we're keeping the conflict fires of the Reformation alive here in the Midwest to this very day.
Oh,
it was illegal to have like Catholic churches for a good while here too. Like,
it was a big deal when John F. Kennedy became president because he was the first Catholic president.
Yeah. Right.
And people thought he would bow down to the Pope.
Let's move on to Hearts of Iron.
More modern. Yeah, let's go back a little bit in the past from John F. Kennedy.
Yeah. Just so we don't dig ourselves a deeper hole when the Vatican assassins show up. Will
it be the same ones that took out JFK?
I would hope they're retired by now. They're probably up there in their like 80s and 90s. If they're, I would hope that the Vatican has the Holy See has a good enough pension plan that they don't still need to be performing assassinations in their golden years. But I don't know. Maybe you just become more powerful the older you get in that job. So Hearts of Iron 4 La Resistance is out. We've all played it at this point. We did a multiplayer stream on Monday that ended unfortunately with some sort of bug where I immediately capitulated as the Spanish anarchists.
Yes. Which
the second that I had fired.
An interesting other bug happened with them. Yesterday I hosted a multiplayer and I loaded in as observer mode, and I immediately got a game over screen as the anarchists.
Well, I joked when they did that Dev Diary about the CNT FAI that the only true way to achieve anarchism would be to delete yourself from the map and become tagless. So maybe it's just working as intended, and they took my suggestion. Because being a tag in Hearts of Iron is authoritarian, and I'm not cool with it. So yeah, maybe that's what's going on. What's been everyone's impressions? Do you have any favorite stories or insights into the spy system, any of the new resistance stuff? Any of the new focus trees?
Well, what I really, really love is it's not like a big, just a complete no-brainer, but you're going to annex everything now. Like if I was playing for a little while as the Japanese and I started annexing all of China, and pretty quickly I ran into a lot of problems.
Yeah. Oh, the resistance.
So now, having a collaboration government is actually, and having puppets is actually really good. So I really want to play as a British Empire and actually set up all the puppets again, rather than, because the idea is like you basically try and annex, Barrage, and you annex the Australians and stuff. And now I guess they're not going to be too pleased about it.
Yeah. Well, they changed how cores work slightly too. That like if you're playing as Britain or France and you have overseas territories that are not cores. Someone could send their spies in there and try to foment rebellion, almost like a Lawrence of Arabia type thing. Like I can try to get, the French African states to rebel against France, which is kind of cool. And the way the new compliance system works, where you can kind of gradually build up to a point that you're not really seeing much of a resistance movement. Or you can just kind of be like, yeah, I don't care. We'll fight you in the streets if you want to cause trouble for us. Which feeds pretty, yeah.
Oh, we do have Kazi asking in chat, don't they only have resistance while they're occupied in a war? Did they change that? They did change that. Mm-hmm. They will have resistance after the war. Like, for example, the Spanish Civil War, if you win as communist Spain, all the land that was initially held by fascist Spain, it has resistance afterwards, and you have to take decisions after a certain focus in your tree to recore the states and eliminate it permanently.
Right.
Can I just say we can hear the Pope coming to get you in the background?
Yeah.
He's got sirens on the Pope Mobile now.
Yeah, that's the Pope Mobile right there. Yeah.
He's coming personally.
That's it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have tried to do a game as a spy master. I'm curious if anybody else has tried this, because kind of my impression with the espionage system is that there's a lot of different values you're having to manage that I think are not exactly intuitive in terms of like what they actually do, and are also like kind of difficult to keep track of. Like even after playing till like 1943 or so, I'm still not entirely sure what the relationship is between like my spy network level in a state, my ability to take action against the country that state is in, and like those tokens you get. Like when you have infiltrated army, you basically spend an infiltrated army token to do like an action against the army, and like I don't think there's anywhere you can see like how many of those you have or like what kinds of tokens you have. Am I being dumb, or have you guys had a similar experience?
I've had a similar experience.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where the token's displayed, but like when you're spy master, you sort of like try and keep track of it as a mental note. I'm sure there is somewhere that it's displayed, but I haven't found it yet.
Yeah. Like I feel like the interface could use a little bit of work, and they could explain a little bit better. Like, you know, if you get an agency upgrade that gives you plus 20% assets, it's like, what are assets? Like I'm going back over old dev diaries trying to figure out what that means, because the game doesn't really explain it that well. They did release a video tutorial series that is pretty good, though, which you should definitely check out.
I think that's always going to be the thing with new features and DLC. So it's going to be a few weeks before anyone actually knows what's going on. I mean, look at the naval update. I think lots of people still don't know.
Yes, the naval update.
Yeah, for a very long time, the wiki page for air combat on the official Hearts of Iron wiki said something along the lines of like, nobody actually really knows how this works, but here's our best guess based on like tests and observations. So yeah, Hearts of Iron does kind of have a history of that.
I quite like that, but it's I like the idea of things being quite, you know, things are sort of a little bit of a work to work out, but once you know how it works, the systems work really well. So like once you know how the Navy works, man, the Navy is just so satisfying to play. And I'm guessing the same is going to be the same with Intrigue.
Yeah.
I'm definitely having a lot of fun exploring. Portugal makes a nice spy master, because
the Portuguese tree is so good. I love the Portuguese tree. I think I said last week, I wish there was somebody on the content design team as passionate about every focus tree as the guy who did the Portugal tree is about Portugal. Like it's so well done, and there's like so many little historical details and like well thought out alternate history scenarios. Yeah, Spain and Portugal are like have moved to my top tier as far as most fun nations to play.
Spain is like sublime now, making us playing as the Spanish. I love the system that they have. You know how every single breakaway area for Civil War has got its own focus tree that they go down, and I hope that gets implemented with other ones too. Like, you know, it'd be nice to see.
Like Germany,
definitely.
Do you know what is interesting? I noticed because I hosted a multiplayer game on stream yesterday, and I went into observer mode, just watching some people who had not played the game till yesterday actually, you know, mess around with the spies and everything. And when the AI creates a spy agency, they don't name it. And they don't pick an image either. It appears to be fully 100% cosmetic for the player.
Interesting.
That's pretty cool.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I'm huge on just pointless cosmetics. Like, I am a big fan of pointless cosmetics.
Well, it's like this. Oh,
sorry.
Yeah, the Spanish player named theirs the Spanish Inquisition.
Nice.
Naturally.
Nice.
No one expected that.
Loris?
That's just the interface for the new the spy stuff is just beautiful. Like all the turning dials and knobs and the sort of cranking and stuff. Oh, it's really, really nice.
Right.
There is one thing with the UI, or a couple things with the UI, is when you're playing in Spain and you're spending your power points to take control or to fight for control of different provinces, different states.
Mm-hmm.
If you click on the actual number that says like 10 when your little PowerPoint image, it takes you out of that whole map mode. You have to click on the circle with the check marks or the X's.
Interesting.
Which is a little confusing at first because you want to click on the number.
Yeah, I still need to figure out how exactly the Spanish Civil War works, because I've tried to fight it twice now, once on stream, which you guys will be able to see, and once off stream. And I still don't fully understand all of those mechanics. I feel like maybe it needs an info pop-up, sort of like how EU4 gives you that flavor description now that tells you about what the political situation in the region you're in is when you start a new game. It'd be really nice to have something pop up that just explains the basics of the Spanish Civil War if you start as Spain. That's something I would really appreciate. I mean, it's sort of the same as playing in China. They don't really explain how all of the border conflicts and subversively taking over states that the communists can do. That stuff could definitely be explained a lot better. Again, you usually end up running to super old dev diaries to try to remember how it worked when you read about it 3 to 5 months ago.
Also discussing also discussing UI is, since they added the intrigue map mode and they put it over on your buttons on the bottom right hand corner as one of the 4 large ones. Mm-hmm. They didn't remap the keys. So you would think F1 is infantry, F2 is naval, F3 is the Air Force, and you think F4 will be the spies.
Yeah.
But the spy button actually has no hotkey, which I believe Attaway said to us on Monday that they're going to try and work that in.
Yeah, I definitely want a F4 to be my spy map mode.
Yep, because right now you have to hit Shift W, which brings open the entire spy agency tab.
Yeah.
Which,
fix it, Attaway. Come on, personally.
chop chop.
Yeah,
Get to it.
Other than the Spanish and Portuguese,
I thought you did.
Trees and unique mechanics, I think my favorite part of this expansion so far is just the spies themselves and kind of the smaller human stories that you can tell using them, which is something that something I've said for a while that Hearts of Iron feels like it's missing is smaller human scale stories.
And I tell you what, when you leave a spy to die in prison, man, you you just feel awful about it.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, I had in my game I was playing as the UK, I had this badass spy whose main job was just she had all of the traits that made her better at rescuing other spies. So if somebody got captured, it would be okay, I'm gonna get her name was Annette, I think, to go bust them out. But then she got captured, so it became this, she's busted us all out in the past, we've got to try our best to get her free because we don't have our best jailbreaker, because they finally captured her. So that was one of the most tense and dramatic moments that I've experienced in Hearts of Iron in a while.
Surely if she's your best jailbreaker, she can break herself out.
Can they do that? I've never seen that happen, actually.
Quick apologies. Attaway actually said it was on his list, his personal list of things to work on, because they do get personal days to work on programming, but it is not on any official list. Or it's on his personal list to give the team. One or the other. Whichever happens. It's on Attaway's personal list.
They're aware of the fact that we want that. Yeah.
Look, at this point, it's just all excuses. Adaway, stop watching the stream and go get to work.
Yeah. What are you
Go
doing
do
here?
hockey.
Yeah. Pull up that text editor. Come on. We don't have all day.
Yeah. Speaking of Adaway, though, if you are confused about the things, go check out the videos he made because they are actually really, 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 really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's very good. Yeah.
We know. We're still giving you a hard time over it, though, Adaway.
But yeah, can spies break out of captivity on their own? Because I've never actually seen that happen.
I've never seen it. Possibly, though.
I'm not saying I've seen it. Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I mean, that would make sense.
I conquered Yugoslavia. That's the height of my achievement in this game. And you're here talking about spies going in, cracking people out of jail. Yeah, that stuff's going way over my head. Conquered Yugoslavia.
It would make sense, especially
France murdered me. That's how it
because some of the spies get like the seduction trait.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we're going off of CK2, if you use seduction, you can break out of prison. So they should be able to do that in Hoi 4 too, right?
Yeah. Of course.
I'm just imagining female Hitler with a seduction trait and then giggle uncontrollably.
The one thing that I thought was kind of funny is they have sort of like this deck of scenarios that they sort of shuffle into your spy operation based on the situation, like how they get into the country, what they actually do, and then how they exfiltrate, which can change, based on certain factors. But I thought it was funny because I kept getting my first game that I played with the new expansion. I played as New Zealand and just put my entire GDP towards being the spy master. It's like, all right, I'll send a few volunteers, but like my job in the war is just to worry about espionage, which is kind of fun if you're playing like a smaller power like, Romania or New Zealand or Canada or South Africa or something like that, who don't normally have that big of an impact militarily. You can just build up your civilian industry and be like, yeah, we got the spy shit covered.
Just a bunch of Australian spies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I had like that local recruitment upgrade or whatever. So like I had a bunch of German spies that had like defected to New Zealand that we were using to sow chaos in Germany. Yeah. So
when you're talking there about the scenarios that pop up, is that stuff like Operation Mincemeat?
Yeah, I mean, some of them are historical, some of them are just like semi-random generic ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, they all have like three.
Really cool.
They all have three.
If the AI would respond to that.
Right. They all have three phases that can either succeed or fail. One of them is the infiltration phase, one of them is the actual operation phase, and one of them is the exfiltration. So you got to get in, you got to do the thing, and then you got to get out. But yeah, I kept getting the infiltration option where we were going to drop them off with a submarine, and I didn't have a navy. So like, I don't know, I guess we were borrowing a British submarine or something. So it is semi-reactive, but it's not like fully reactive. Like it doesn't actually check.
Just use a civilian submarine. No problem.
Yeah. Are there civilian submarines? I've never actually thought about that before.
I don't know. It's probably
there's
like
science.
Got one.
There's like the science submarines and such.
I guess there's like James Cameron.
Like Boatface?
Yeah.
I don't think Boaty McBoatface was a sub.
Yeah,
I'm mistaken.
If it's the SS Attenborough, and SS Boatface is the submersible on SS Cape Attenborough.
Yeah. The 3 moves ahead multiplayer game of EU4, my flagship as Great Britain is Boaty McBoatface, and it has more kills than any other ship in the world currently. So
that's imagine if you could track the amount of kills each ship would get. I want that.
I think you can.
That would be cool.
I don't think it does.
Yeah,
I don't know if it shows you.
There's a little like a tick and an X and a little like clipboard next to the ship, and it'll tell you the history of the ship, and I think it tells you like what it's done.
Well, shit, I'm gonna have to go look for that. That sounds cool.
So, anyways, possibly. I could be wrong on that. Pretty sure that's a thing.
Look, other than like a couple of days ago, the last time I played EU4 was back in December. So maybe a little. Yeah, well, the launcher was being a bit of a bastard. And I haven't actually been able to play. So
that sucks.
In Hoi, it definitely tracks.
Yeah.
Oh, we have confirmation.
Yeah, Hoi does. Hoi does for sure. Have you guys found yourselves using like the Intel ledger and stuff much? Because like, I don't know if I'm a typical player, but I feel like the main value of Intel for me is just like the static bonuses that it gives you for having it. I don't really look around a lot and be like, oh yeah, you know, there's a lot of civilian factories here, so I'm gonna bomb this. It's more like I just want to crack their code and hit go. And I'm happy.
I definitely used to try and find out how the exact number of troops I've got to see how like likely it is I'm going to win. That's pretty useful because you get like a sort of a range if your intel's low, but then it starts honing in on the exact number.
Here's the thing about that is I feel like that would be more valuable to me in a game like CK2 or EU4 that lasts a long time. In Hoi 4, like, I'm so rarely asking myself the question, should I go to war with this country? It's like, I've got about 10 years. I'm gonna go to war with these guys eventually because they're my enemy. I mean, I guess I could look at the intel ledger and decide when to attack, but it's like I'm not making a decision on whether to attack. Obviously, you know, it's a war game.
It's inevitable.
I'm gonna be in a war sooner or later. So it feels to me like the intel ledger is a little bit less valuable in this type of game just because staying out of the war isn't really an option. Like, if you want to accomplish anything, you know, you're gonna have to put boots on the ground come hell or high water sooner or later.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see how the Intel Ledger will get used in multiplayer, as Adaway is pointing out to us.
Yeah.
Since people will do very different things.
So on the naval thing, you can find out like where people are stationing their ships, so you can like intercept their fleets. That's fantastic, brilliant.
Yeah.
Especially in a Pacific War, because I can say like, my goodness, when you're fighting the Americans or you're fighting the Japanese, like, you have no idea where their ship is, you know? And if you've got good intel, you can just find out, oh, that's where the capital fleet is. I can intercept that with my superior navy. And that will really give you a boost. Or you can send, like, naval bombers or kamikazes to that area, you know? It would be useful.
Which, by the way, German AI needs to build more naval bombers. That New Zealand game I'm talking about, it eventually devolved into a stalemate. As is often the case with an ascendant Axis faction, where they'll knock the Soviet Union out of the war, they'll knock France out of the war, they'll basically they conquer the Raj, they basically gain control of the Eurasian landmass, but then they can never cross the channel because they don't build enough planes to get air superiority and land paratroopers, and the current German AI doesn't seem like they want to build any naval bombers, which anytime I've beaten the UK as Germany, that's how I did it. I built up the air bases along the Normandy coast. I spammed naval bombers, and I just sunk the entire, Royal Navy with land-based naval bombers, and then, sea lioned my way across.
I did notice that myself. We had I did a game as Portugal where we went monarchist? No, I forgot what we did. No, we went whatever we did. But Germany was at war with Great Britain for 4 or 5 years, and they never attempted to make any naval landings. We finally made a naval landing, and the U.S. came in to help us.
Yeah, and they'll have like 9,000 land divisions. Like they don't intelligently switch what they're spending their military factories on based on what's needed. Like they keep producing tanks, they keep producing infantry equipment, they keep producing all of this stuff that would allow them to win on land when the land war in Eurasia has already been won. And then they're not making any boats, they're not making any naval bombers. They've got nukes, but they don't have enough planes, like they don't have enough bombers to drop one, nor do they have enough fighters to actually maintain air superiority and be able to drop one. Like, I think the German AI needs some sort of trigger that's like, okay, Eurasia is locked down. we need to shift our focus now because beating Britain will either require us to have a navy of some kind or really beef up our air force so that we can neutralize their navy. Because I think it will just continue indefinitely. Like, I've never seen AI Germany even come close to invading the UK.
Well, and then the UK wasn't trying to invade Germany either in my game.
Yeah. And Japan took Hawaii in that game, which is like a new record. I've never seen them get that far.
No, I've never seen the AI do
but
that.
But then it was like another 2 or 3 years, and they never made any attempt to invade the mainland or like even Alaska. So I think there's still an issue in the late game. If the Axis are winning, only the US and Britain are left. They still don't really seem to understand how to deal with that, which is something that I would really like to see adjusted, because I can put Germany, I like to buff Germany and just put them on like the maximum amount of boost that they can have if I'm playing as the Allies, because otherwise it feels like, well, we're gonna win eventually anyway, so I can kind of sit here and do nothing probably and still win if I'm playing as like a Commonwealth nation. And it never feels like the world is in danger of falling to fascism, even if you boost Germany and Japan because they can't get their shit together to invade the UK or the US. That's my rant about Hearts of Iron in the state that it's in right now.
Just a forever stalemate. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Like, I want to be able to play as the US and actually feel like I'm in danger of getting Man in the High Castled. Like, I don't want to feel like the homeland's just going to be safe no matter what. I want to see Germany, if they're winning on all other fronts, be able to try to contest the British Isles.
Yeah.
Well, they were never able to do it in our timeline, so one could say it's historical.
Yeah, but I mean, if you knock the Soviet Union out of the war, if you conquer all of Africa and India and Southeast Asia, and like Japan holds Hawaii, like at that point, you should probably have the industrial might to, continue the offensive over bodies of water and not just be like, oh, well, the Wehrmacht, they were all vampires, so they can't cross running water, and at that point the war is over.
Well, then you basically have to encourage pilots from conquered nations to, fly for you. Otherwise, you're not going to really have the skilled manpower to be able to, make use of that massive industrial might.
I think it'd be nice
the thing about invading as well is, if the Germans and the British are fighting in the air above England, anyone that gets shot down from England, if they manage to, survive the crash, they've landed on home soil. Anyone from Germany, that's captured. That's a dude that you've lost that can no longer fly again.
Yeah.
So I'm saying It still makes sense. Germany was never going to get over. They could have conquered the world. They would never set foot on the British Isles.
I don't disagree with you, but when I'm playing a video game and I'm fighting the Nazis, I want to feel like the Nazis have a chance of winning, or else it just feels like everything I'm doing is pointless. I want to be able to have a mode where it's like, yes, an Axis world conquest is possible if you don't do anything about it. And currently that's not something Hearts of Iron seems able to deliver. But I am really liking this expansion. All of that being said.
Some kind of event piece would be interesting too. How the Japanese, if you conquer Korea, or if you nuke Japan. Because I don't think, maybe Britain might not even stay in the war if the Soviets would have fell. But America certainly would not have stayed in the war if Britain and the Soviets fell. There's no way America would have stayed in after that.
It's hard enough doing a naval invasion across the Channel. Doing it across the Pacific is impossible. It's utterly impossible.
Yeah, I got close once. I was playing as actually the same path Loris took in our multiplayer game on Monday. I did Germany. I played as Germany. I restored the Kaiser. I managed to conquer basically all of mainland Eurasia and Britain, and then I got a foothold on Newfoundland and was trying to build a naval base as quickly as possible so that my guys wouldn't die to attrition. And that was as far as we got. We never even got into mainland Canada. It's just such a huge logistical challenge to try to invade America.
Yeah. It is fun though. Once you get a nice landing and you're fighting down your way down the coast, it's just
So almost need like Canada or Mexico on your side, so you have someone to land.
That you need to get someone on your side.
Yeah,
Argentina, led by the exiled Hitler.
Teaming up with the Kaiser. That sounds like your heresy there, sir.
We may speak the same language, but I am actually not. I am Alfonso Hitlerino. Yeah, I'm not that Austrian guy. I'm totally different. Exactly.
I love, like, my two favorite ways to play Hearts of Iron are the Second American Civil War or playing as a country that invades the US, because there wasn't actually a lot of fighting that happened in the United States in the 20th century, but I live here. And, like, all the places I know are in the U.S. So, like, if I'm moving a tank division across I-80 in Wyoming, I guess I-80 might have been built by Eisenhower. It might not even exist yet. But I can be like, oh, yeah, I know these places. Like, this is...
Yeah, all the big interstates were built afterwards.
Right.
All...
Yeah.
They were not here before. No, not in the World War II.
Yeah. Like, fighting across the Rockies has, like, a real sense of, like, palpable, like, oh, I've been here, I grew up here, that I don't really get with the war in Europe, because, you know, other than Berlin and, like, the Amsterdam airport, I haven't really been around mainland Europe much. Scandinavia and the British Isles, slightly more so. But,
you can always just go play the...
Oh, go for it.
Oh, so as I said, you could always go play the Old World Blues mod, which is completely set over there in the western parts of the States.
I love that mod. It's a Fallout mod. Fallout mod for Hearts of Iron 4, set in North America. Highly recommended. I've been having a lot of fun with that mod.
Yeah. I love it. It's so good.
Yeah.
And the ever amazing Kaiserreich as well.
Oh, of course.
Yes,
of course.
The American Civil War and Kaiserreich is really, really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really
yep.
That's a lot
Sacco
of fun.
and Vanzetti did nothing wrong. Any final thoughts about La Resistance before we wrap it up here?
I want to play more of it, and considering Hearts of Iron is my least played Paradox game, that does say a lot about the DLC.
We've given you the Hoi 4 bug.
I wouldn't call it a bug. It's an itch.
That's how it starts. Watch out.
Yeah, you should check out Kaiserreich too, because the UK.
Well, I've played Kaiserreich. Yeah, I played as the UK.
Kaiserreich.
I played as Italy, naturally. I don't know why I like Italy in games. Just always do.
Oh, Italy's really interesting. I hope you played as with Pope, because that's the best one. That's how you get them back on side.
I played as because Italy is split, isn't it?
Yeah.
I played as the Northern Italians, and I got 100% just destroyed. And I played as the UK, and I was like, okay, I'm going to invade America while they're in the middle of their civil war, and I got destroyed.
Oh, no.
And I played as Germany, and that one went okay.
Yeah. That's the best thing, is you playing Canada and you just seize all the lands of America. And then you turn around after the Civil War and it's like, oh shit, actually, we're really powerful now. Like,
Yep.
Oh, well.
Well, I think that's a good summary of our initial thoughts on La Resistance.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to playing a bit more multiplayer. That's for sure. That's my big.
And seeing what the various mods, big total conversion mods, are going to do with these mechanics.
It's a whole new world now.
What I'm most interested in, because there's a mod that I've been following for a while, which looks amazing. New World Order. It's like set in post. Post Axis victory. It's a hellscape, and but it's a Cold War mod, right? So seeing what they do with spies, really interested in that. Really, really interested in that.
There was a New World Order mod for Victoria 2 as well. I wonder if that was made by the same guys, because that was a Cold War mod.
Oh.
Yeah,
was it sort of a post-Axis victory hellscape where everything's gone to pot?
I don't remember, honestly.
The ingredients are all there right now. With
I think
the
it was
Chinese...
a post-Napoleonic, like that was the kind of divergence was post-Napoleonic wars.
Oh yeah, the Imperator
so yes, it was a hellscape because Napoleon won. I get hate for that, but I don't care. Fuck Napoleon.
Yeah.
The ingredients are all there now. I feel like between the Chinese Civil War mechanics added in Waking the Tiger, the Spanish Civil War mechanics that were added in this expansion, the new spy stuff that was added in this expansion, like there's so many options for conflicts that are not total open war that I think like you could really just make a very, very cool Cold War mod. It's all pretty much there. Like all the pieces are there. Just somebody needs to assemble them in a way that works and makes sense. So,
yeah, I agree. Well, this is why I'm looking forward to that. Mod. It's a Cold War mod, but with a twist. It's a bit more hellish and grim. And I love like a really depressing game too. I like playing a video game and going, "Well, this is shit." Like what a world, what a horrible hellscape.
Well, that's why I was disappointed that like Germany would not invade the U.S. in that big game I played with like all the Axis powers boosted. It's like, now like I feel like I'm just not in danger anymore, so I'm just probably gonna quit out. They also landed 47 divisions in a province with a supply limit of 11 in West Africa and never did anything with it except take attrition. So there might be still some issues with waging war in low supply colonial areas that could be looked at. I'll upload the save file if anybody from Paradox wants to take a look at it. But yeah, the game breaking after 1948 definitely isn't a new thing. It's just an ongoing thing. I don't think many people play until that late anyway, surely. Like,
by 1945, I mean, it should be over, right?
More or less, depending on how certain things go. Before we get out of here, Rose, what have you been up to and where can people find your stuff?
Enigmatic Rose 4 here on Twitch, over on YouTube. Got Hoi 4 and EU4 content going up and in the pipeline. In both places.
Excellent. Lambert, what have you been up to and where can people find your stuff?
Still lots of multiplayer Imperator content over on Lambert2191 on on YouTube and on DLive. And I've also just started today a new series playing as Bactria, going for a couple of achievements in Imperator, The Man Who Would Be King and To the Ends of the World. And it's only been up for about 6 hours and it's already doing pretty well views-wise. So it seems to be going to be a popular one, hopefully.
We can hope, Loris, what have you been up to and where can people find your
mostly stuff? Sleeping by the fireplace. Apart from that, I've just been drawing. And you can find my stuff at chapelcomic.com or Twitter. Yeah.
Excellent. What have I been up to? I'm AsaTJ on Twitter. That's ASATJ. I released a Twine game you guys might want to check out. I'm thinking about maybe doing some spy tutorial things for Hearts of Iron, since there seems to be not a lot of information out on it yet. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, let me know. Let me know what questions you have. As always, you can subscribe to us. We're NoCB Cast on iTunes, Spotify, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, pretty much everywhere. Still waiting on Stitcher. Gotta approve our feed. Come on, man. It's been ages.
We're a legit podcast now. Come on.
I know.
It's been
we're
3 months?
10 episodes. Yeah, I mean, this is our 10th episode, so come on, guys. yeah, if there's anywhere that we're not listed yet that you would like us to be listed, just let us know on Twitter and we'll submit the feed and make sure you can get access to it, all the places that you like to get access to podcasts. And
I generally like YouTube for podcasts.
Yes, I hear people do like that.
So anyway, that's going to be the end of the show. Keep an eye on our Twitter and here. We'll probably be doing some more bonus multiplayer streams as we try to meet the requirements to become a Twitch affiliate, so that we can demand tribute from you, our fabulous listeners. And
you can get access to the NoCB emote here on Twitch.
Oh yeah, we gotta get some emotes going.
We need 2 emotes for NoCB. One is just a no, and then another one is CB. So we can just say no, or we can just say CB, or we can put them together and do NoCB.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.
See you later.
Guys.
Bye.